Hello princesses! Today I'm going to be talking about the Etude House Jung Mild Defense Sun Cream. I picked this up because it was on sale at Rosary Shop for about like $3, I think, $3 US, which was like too good of a deal to pass up on. I knew nothing about the sunscreen, but I always need new sunscreen, so I decided to pick it up. Since unboxing it, you guys probably would have seen this feature on my channel a couple of times. This has probably got the biggest white cast I have ever tried, which can be a blessing and a curse. For me, it is a blessing because you can still see that my face is slightly paler than the rest of my body. It actually isn't that much difference, but because the light is shining on it and my face is forward in front of my neck, it does create a shadow on my neck. It's not really that bad in real life, I promise. And for reference, this is MAC NC10 at the moment, so I'm back in my NC10. Finally, my tans are subsiding. But when I came back from Europe, my neck was so much darker than my face because it was summer there. My hands and my arms are still pretty dark in comparison as well. So this was actually a blessing in disguise because I have been using this almost exclusively on my neck to lighten up my neck skin in comparison to my face, so I can still wear the same foundations that I have in my drawer. Obviously, it has the double benefit of being a sunscreen, meaning that it's going to be protecting my skin from darkening or getting any more sun damage, while lightening it to the same tone but just a lighter colour. So the product description says, this gentle sunscreen uses physical filters such as titanium dioxide to protect against sun damage. It has SPF 49 PA++, provides minimal coverage. Reapply every 2 hours. I don't know why it says provide minimal coverage because an SPF of 49 is actually not that bad, but that's okay. So to clarify, this is a physical sunscreen. It doesn't contain any chemical filters, but it does contain zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. However, these are nanoparticles, which means that this is not a reef-safe sunscreen. So please do not use this if you are swimming near coral reefs. Okay, so excuse me here, you'll see why it's up in such a messy bun in a couple of minutes. But first, let's talk about the product itself. The sunscreen is packaged in a classic white squeeze tube that has just your little basic nozzle at the top. It's easy to get the sunscreen out and it's stored tip down so that the sunscreen makes its way down to the tip anyway. This means that you don't have to like squeeze it really hard or like shake it too much to actually get the product out and get the last of it. The packaging is the same as all of the other Jung products. It has the black and this like really pretty blue writing, and that's pretty much it. The sunscreen itself is white in colour and has a pretty thick texture. It's fairly easy to blend out on the skin, but sometimes it does take a little bit of a rub to get it in. I'm not such a fan of that because I don't like to tug at my skin, but that's just kind of the way it is. It has very little scent, almost I would say no scent at all, which is really surprising. It doesn't even smell like it doesn't even smell like chemicals, which is really nice, and it does leave a fairly strong white cast. Another important thing to note is that you will need at least 15 to 20 minutes for this to dry down properly. If you try to apply makeup or clothing over the top of it, it'll rub off onto your clothing. That's why my hair is up in a bun at the moment, and it will also make your makeup start to slide around, so it's important to let it set properly. So I'm going to start by applying this to my face, and I'm also going to apply it to my neck today because my neck is still a couple of shades tanner than the rest of than my face. So I'm starting out with a pea-sized amount, which may not look like enough, but honestly, it's a little bit tricky to apply, so I would start with just a little bit less than you think you need, and then you can always layer it on top. This is what I'm talking about with the white cast. It is like your classic hated sunscreen as like a child. It has that thick, hard to rub in texture, and it leaves streaky white streaks everywhere. I cannot pat this one in because it literally doesn't go anywhere, so I'm forced to gently sort of rub it in. And so if you have to rub it in, I would definitely recommend using your fourth and your third finger to do so rather than your first finger, because I find that if I use my index finger, because it's more like of a dominant and strong finger, it's a bit too harsh on my skin. So that is the sunscreen applied now. If I was going outside for a full day, what I would do is wait 15 minutes for this to dry down and then probably apply another layer of it over the top just to ensure that I've got full coverage of the sunscreen. This might sound like really ridiculous, but I used less than the standard amount initially because I would need 1/4 teaspoon to cover just my face. So this means that the sunscreen is probably a little bit too spread out to actually give me proper coverage. Obviously, if you're putting a sunscreen on, you want it to protect you from the sun, right? You got to put it on properly. So today I'm also going to be doing my neck because, as you can kind of see, now my face is a little bit whiter than my neck, and Since my neck is tan at the moment, I kind of enjoy the white cast that the sunscreen provides because it makes my foundations look like the right colour. All of my foundations are the same pale shade, so for me this is a really good way of making it look a little bit more toned in without actually having to buy another foundation, because I don't want to really stay this colour, so I kind of don't see the point in purchasing like an expensive or even a cheap foundation just to match this one skin colour. I would rather fade the tan out. So this of course does double duty for me. I'm going to be matching my foundation to this neck colour now, and it's also going to be protecting me from the sun and preventing more tanning or skin damage. So in this way it's better than using a primer to actually change the colour of my skin or the tint of my skin, because the primers don't give you that much sun protection. This one is SPF 49 PA++, so it's not bad. I'm going to put just a little bit around the neckline so you can see that there's a little bit of a line, but just be careful with the sunscreen because it does stain clothing. So if you get it on your clothing, be prepared to have the white sunscreen mark on your clothing forever. So normally what I would do is put it on before I get dressed, but I can't just sit here shirtless, so you know. So that is blended in nice and easily. I need to do the back of my neck as well because the back of my neck is really tan, but I'm going to do that off camera. So this is what the sunscreen looks like up close. You can see that it still has a fair white cast on my skin and on my neck, and it gives a sort of dewy finish. It's only been a couple of minutes, so it's still really quite sticky and tacky, although it does feel moisturizing, and I find that this is a nice base if my skin feels like a little bit dry and it needs a thicker moisturizing sunscreen. But to be honest, I don't use it that much on my face because it has such a bad white cast. My face skin is already lighter than the rest of my body, so I don't want to make it look lighter. So I've pretty much been exclusively using this on my neck. So yeah, it doesn't affect the longevity of my foundation, so I'm not going to be doing any check-ins for this. There are aspects of this sunscreen that I really like and aspects that I do not like at all. So it is a very 50-50 product for me. I actually really like that it has a really bright white cast because my skin tans really easily, but I tend to not tan my face because I'm really good at reapplying my sunscreen when wearing hats. Sometimes my chest area and definitely my hands and my neck do tan in comparison. So this is actually really helpful because it reminds me to put it on because I want the rest of my body to be the same color. It evens out my skin tone because it makes it the same tone but just brighter, so it doesn't make me look grey. I am a very fair person normally, so I am NC10 at the moment, and my neck has now faded out to NC10, but my hands are probably more along the lines of NC15, so this definitely does help and it doesn't make me look grey. However, if you have a deeper skin tone, it may make you look a little bit ashy and grey. I'm not entirely sure. It is also a very thick cream, so if you have dry skin, then this is going to be a really good sunscreen for you because it's really nourishing and moisturizing. However, if you have oily skin, it is going to be absolutely probably very awful because it's going to feel too thick and too heavy on your skin. It's also really important to cleanse the sunscreen off thoroughly, and I did need an oil cleanser every single time that I used it. Just a normal foaming cleanser is not enough to get this off of your skin. So if you have highly acne prone skin, I would definitely recommend maybe staying away from this one, or if you are going to be using it, really do make sure that you clean it off thoroughly, because I did find that sometimes there was some residue still left on my neck, like I would go and scratch my neck and then I'd be getting like under my nails and So I absolutely love this for my neck, my chest and my body area. It's not something that I use very much underneath my foundations because, like I said in the video, I find that it takes too long to dry down and it kind of disturbs my foundations, although I didn't find that it disturbed longevity as long as I did wait for it to dry down first. It's kind of a picky sunscreen. Thank you guys so much for watching this review, and I will see you next time. Bye!